Alright, in this lesson, we are going to look at solving rational equations. Okay, you have a rational equation when you've got an x on the bottom. Okay, so first thing, I gave you some steps. Okay, first thing you're going to do is factor in denominators and set each factor that has an x in it equal to 0 to get your avoid list. These are just like doing those domain restrictions that we had in that rational expressions lesson. So none of these denominators factor, okay? And how many of them have an x? Just one of them. So you say x can't be 0, okay? Because you can't have an answer and plug it back in and get the bottom to equal 0, because you know that's your big rule in math. This one it's hard to understand with. It gets a little bit better in the next one. Okay, so now once you get your avoid list, I have to avoid answering 0 because 0 is bad, because if I x is 0, when I plug it back in, it breaks my big rule. All right, but now, let's get a common denominator. So between 3 and 6, I need a 6, right? And then for an x, I need an x. So everybody gets a 6x. All right, so let's cancel out. How many times does 3 go into 6? 2. Let's see if I can move that off. Sorry. Okay. Now 6 goes in 6 one time, it cancels, and then the x cancels here. So let's multiply what we've got left. We've got 1 times 2 times x minus 5 times x equaling 1 times 6. All right. Then you just solve what you got. So 3x equals 6. So what is x? If I divide by 3, it is 2. When you get your answer, what you're going to do is double check that you didn't get the number you were supposed to avoid answering, but we were avoiding 0, so 2 is fine. Okay. Like I said, that avoid list gets a little bit better on this next one. Alright, so looking at this one, 8 over x minus 2 equals 4 over x plus 1. Alright, do these denominators factor? No. So what you do is you set each denominator that you have not equals 0. So these are the two numbers I can't be. So if I solve them out, just like doing those domain restrictions, it's the same thing. X can't be 2 and x can't be negative 1. So those are the two numbers I'm avoiding answering. Okay. Alright, so these didn't factor. So now, my common denominator between x plus minus 2 and x plus 1 is going to be 1 of each. So everybody gets x minus 2, x plus 1. Alright, let's cancel out what we can. So the x minus 2's cancel and the x plus 1's cancel. So now my equation is 8 times x plus 1 equals 4 times x minus 2. We're getting rid of those fractions. So if we were to distribute it, we would get 8x plus 8 equaling 4x minus 8. Alright, x's to the left, so I'm going to subtract those 4 x's. And I'm going to move constants to the right, so I'm going to subtract the 8. So I end up with 4x equals a negative 16. So if I divide by 4, x is a negative 4. Okay. Am I okay with that answer? Well, the only two answers I couldn't say were 2 and negative 1, so am I okay with negative 4? Yeah. Okay. Alright, so let's do this one. 32, let's go ahead and factor it. That's x plus 5, x minus 5. 4 over x plus 5 doesn't factor, and neither does x minus 5. So how many different parentheses do I have on the bottom? Okay, I have 2, so that means I have 2 avoid numbers. So x plus 5 can't be 0, and x minus 5 can't be 0, so I need to avoid whatever these two numbers are. It's just going to be the opposite sign, though. So my two numbers to avoid are negative 5 and positive 5. Now, if you're smart, it's multiple choice, you're going to immediately look at your answers and rule out any answer that has a negative 5 or a positive 5 in it, because those can't be right. You can't say those, because if you plugged them in, you get zeros on the bottom. Alright, so your common denominator is 1 of each. Everybody gets x plus 5, x minus a 5. And let's cancel out. So I cancel out both of them over here. The x plus 5's here. and the x minus 5 is here. So let's write what we got left. We got 32 equals 4 times x minus 5 plus 2 times x plus 5. Much prettier to solve. So I've got 4x minus 20 when I distribute, and a plus a 2x plus a 10. And if I clean it up, 4x and 2x gives me 6x, and negative 20 plus 10 is a negative 10. Okay, so I'll add 10 to both sides. So 42 equals 6x, so if I divide by 6, then x is 7. Okay, so I couldn't say 5 or negative 5, but I'm okay with 7. All right, so this next one, I think that we must answer what gets us into trouble. So let's try that one. So it's 2 over, that doesn't factor, minus 5 over x plus 1 equals 3x plus 5 over, if we factored it, we get x plus 1, x plus 3. All right, two different parentheses on the bottom. That means two avoid numbers. X plus 3 can't be 0, and x plus 1 can't be 0. So my two avoid numbers are a negative 3, x can't be a negative 3, and x can't be a negative 1. Those are my domain restrictions. Okay, can't answer those. All right, what's my common denominator? It's one of each parenthesis. X plus 3, x plus 1. X plus 3, x plus 1. X plus 3, x plus 1. So let's cancel out. X plus 3's, x plus 1's, and both of them. So 2 times x plus 1 minus 5 times x plus 3 equals 3x plus 5. Alright, so now let's solve this and see what we get. Distribute a 2 and I get 2x plus 2. And distribute a negative 5, I get a negative 5x minus 15. Alright, cleaning it up, 2x minus 5x is a negative 3x, and negative 15 plus 2 is a negative 13. Okay, so let's subtract the 3x to get rid of it, and let's add the 13 to get rid of it. So I get a negative 6x equaling 18. So if I divide by negative 6, then x is negative 3. Now here's what's real tempting to do is you're going to look at your multiple choice answers and see negative 3 and choose it, and everything looks great, but you have to remember to double check it. Okay, I had two numbers I had to avoid answering, negative 3 and negative 1, because they get me in trouble on the bottom, they get me my 0. So what happens when you get the number that you couldn't say? You can write no solution, or you can give me the symbol for that no solution, either one of those answers. Okay, go try some homework.